Hi there, I'm Chris Devine, and this is Six String World. I wanted to share with you all a gig report from a recent gig. This past Saturday, October 9th, my cover band was back at the Brickyard in Woburn, Massachusetts. First off, I have to apologize. I have been trying to keep up with doing gig announcements and videos, but life has gotten in the way. I'm taking a class for my 9-to-5 job this fall, and it takes a night out of my week for the class and then some other time to prep for this class. And I never really thought one night could really make a difference, as well as the time suck of homework and prep. So I'm kind of trying to find my footing schedule-wise, and my class will be over before you know it. So hopefully this is just a minor hiccup for schedule-wise. Apologies aside, if you like this channel, please hit the subscribe button, and the bell icon will let you know when I put up a new video. And if you like this video, click the thumbs up button, and if you want to share it, there's a button for that as well. So in September, we had a gig as well. Or should I say, my band had a gig. It was kind of last minute, with about a week's notice. And it was at our home away from home, the Brickyard. It was a September 11th memorial event that would have multiple bands playing all day. Unfortunately, I was going to be out of town for that weekend, and not to miss out on an opportunity, my band played it without me. Now, back in the day, I couldn't fathom of thinking that a band I was in would take a gig without me. And if they did, I'd probably be pissed about doing a gig without me being there. But thankfully, I'm quite a bit older now. And part of this whole thing is, in our band, if we miss a gig, or somebody misses a gig for one reason or another, it's really not a big deal. So after talking to my bandmates, we said, hey, take the gig, go for it. It would be a great opportunity, and it would be stupid to miss out on that opportunity, especially as we're trying to get back into a regular gigging schedule. It just seemed like it would be counterproductive. So they did it, which was great. I talked to my bandmates after the gig, and the venue apparently had some issues sorting out talent for the show. Some bands they wanted to do it, couldn't do it. There's some schedule stuff. The usual logistical planning of doing something like this. It really does sometimes rear its ugly head, and it can be an issue. So our band ended up playing a little bit earlier, and for also a little bit longer than originally planned. Part about what I love about this band is our adaptability, and apparently the venue did as well. They kind of mentioned to our singer and drummer that we were kind of their go-to band at this point, and we really like the fact we're very easygoing, and we seem to deliver the goods. We get a great response from their patrons as well, and it really worked out quite well. The next week, they started booking indoor shows in their lounge area like we used to have before COVID, and they reached out for our band to play this gig, which was, again, it's one of those nice things to be thought of. And this is kind of a key element I'd like to point out to any musician. If you aren't a pain in the neck and you can play reasonably well, you're more than likely going to get more good opportunities overall. I try to follow the doctrine of Dalton in Roadhouse. Be nice. I can't tell you how many musicians that I have known that get very demanding. They even sometimes cite that they're the best players or that they're pros and they deserve respect. If you have to ask or demand respect or even rant about that you deserve or or require respect from other people, you're probably not going to get it, and you probably don't deserve it. So many people are often shocked that other places like venues, other musicians, they don't kick their butt, and it's, they don't kiss their butt. It's really kind of disappointing. It does make you notice the difference between a great player versus a great person, and who you want to associate with, and what kind of player and person do you want to be. And we found out that the easier going you are, the more opportunities you're going to get that are going to be worth it to do, because you will generally be working with people that have the same mindset. But unfortunately, this time around, for the gig, our bass player and drummer weren't going to be available. So Rob, my singer, and I, we decided to do this on our own. And we have done gigs like this before, and it's not a real big deal. It is a bummer to not have a rhythm section, but we can get through it enough. We've done these types of duo gigs many times. As I mentioned, my schedule was kind of mucked up with my class, and we really didn't get a ton of practice in before the show. We picked out songs that we knew well enough, and we peppered in some new ones that we've been kind of prepping, and they weren't too far past our comfort zone. And they were kind of a good thing, because we were able to work these songs out on our own, see what they sounded like just with 2 guitars and 2 vocals. And that means that if they sound good in that format, when we bring our bass player and drummer in, it will just sound better. So that's really this is kind of like a nice prototyping of other songs we're going to try to work in with the full band. And it kind of makes it a lot easier for 2 people to sort out arrangements and sounds and everything like that than having to figure out with 4 people. So usually if the other 2 players come in, they go, oh, this is how you do it, it's not a real big deal. Gear-wise, I brought my PRS acoustic, which since the last gig that I did at the end of August, I now happen to have locking tuners. And I did this mostly out of the ease of string changes. These are the same locking tuners that PRS offers as an upgrade, and I got mine from John Mann's Guitar Vault. I also happen to have a guitar from Taylor. I got their GTE Urban Ash in for a review. I figured I would bring that as well, and I would run everything through my Boss ME70 into the PA system. However, I did not end up using the Taylor, as nothing went wrong like breaking a string. I started up playing the PRS. It's always nice to have the cutaway, and I'm very comfortable with this as my main acoustic at this point, so there's no worries. At one point of the evening, I may have accidentally moved the output level knob on my Boss ME70 when I stepped on one of my other pedals on the device. My volume seemed to drop quite a bit. And I think that's exactly what happened. We've kind of figured out around the end of the second set, beginning of the third set, that it may have... I usually have it set at noon, and then we let the PA system, we adjust it at that level, and that way if someone says on my end, hey, you're too loud, I can do it at my feet, or if Rob needs to do it at the PA, I can do it. So we have some flexibility at raising or lowering volumes at a couple of different points depending on who's available and what's going on. I'm going to get some bright yellow gaffer tape. I'm going to tape off around the area, and I'm going to put a little reminder in Sharpie as well, as to make sure that this volume is set at noon for the future, and also make sure that it doesn't move around a lot. I'm even thinking of possibly getting a red knob like they usually have. I think they make the Roland CE2, the old style knobs. They make those, they come in red with a silver center. I think that would be kind of cool to fit there, so I have a very easy to see and read control for the volume. That would be helpful. But overall, it wasn't a bad night. We had a great crowd. The team at the Brickyard were very happy. They were impressed with some of the things we brought. We have coasters with our band name on there, which is kind of helpful. We spread those throughout the restaurant and the bar. So people will say, who's playing? Well, here's the band, this is what it's got, so it's kind of cool. People don't have to really know. It worked out pretty well with the new material we worked on, came up. We were able to get those things to be presentable, and there were a couple little things here and there, but we know what to adjust, which is quite helpful. But there was a Spinal Tap moment on my part. Yeah. We tend to use capos quite a bit, partially to put the songs in a key that favors our singer's range, and in some cases to give just better and easier chord voicings. Especially if we found them to be great tools. They're not cheats or anything like that. They're just things that kind of help us facilitate our playing for what we're trying to do. And we cover the Cheap Trick song Surrender. And there's a key change in there. There's a modulation that comes in at the last verse. And this change has always been tough for us, moving the chord voicings around. The first half of the song, we don't have a problem. It works fine. All the chord changes make sense. And when that modulation comes around, if we don't use the capo, it sounds and it feels like a completely different song because our chord voicings change, the positioning change, it goes up, the timbre goes up, and especially on acoustic, that shift is really very present, and especially when you don't have other musicians, no bass, no drums, to kind of help fill it out, it really sometimes can feel awkward. So we came up with a solution. We would play the song in the original key that we have it in, and then when that transition point comes in, I would keep playing that last part in the lower pitch, and my singer Rob would grab his capo, put it on, and then he would take over right as the vocal comes in. And as that would be happening, I would be grabbing my capo and putting it on my guitar, and then I could jump right in, no problems whatsoever. It just play the same chord voicings just with a capo, and it worked out well. Usually within a bar, like a bar of music, like the time length, we'd be right back on track. We had this transition worked out. We tried it a few times in the practice we did have, and it was a great idea. We had no issues. And so I before the song, I clamped my capo on my headstock, like I often do. And it must have not had a good enough grip on the headstock. Because when I went to grab the capo for the change, it wasn't even there. It was gone. And I was living in kind of a nightmare. I'm trying to play, and I'm looking around the floor. I just felt like a fool. And what happened, as I found out, the Kaiser capo is spring loaded. And apparently, I put it on my guitar, and it didn't get enough grip. And it shot off my headstock and ended up behind me. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know. It felt like I dropped out for the entire verse into that transition, and it didn't work because of I didn't have my capo. I did finally figure it out. I was looking around for quite a while, and it felt like an eternity. And finally, when I found it, I got it on there. I think I got it on just in time for the chorus at the end, as it rides out, and it was extremely embarrassing, and it was a true Spinal Tap moment. Yeah. But if you don't learn from a mistake, that's the real tragedy. A bad gig you can recover from. If you keep doing it over and over again, you're never going to recover from it. So from now on, the capo, I'm just going to end up clamping it on my mic stand so I can see it and know where it is at all times. That aside, we did debut some new songs, as I mentioned, and they went over pretty well. When some patrons arrived, one of them yelled out, play Blink-182, which we have in our repertoire. We've played it for quite a few years now. And it was nice to just shrug and say, okay, and we start off with playing All the Small Things. And it was nice to have that in our repertoire so we could handle requests like that, it's always disappointing when someone throws some idea out there and oh yeah, we can't do it, no, we don't know it, or anything. It was nice. It's always nice to have one of those in the can, ready to go, and you can just do it. It was going to be in our set anyways. We just moved a song over for that, which is great. A few of the songs we could have benefited from some sort of beat or rhythm accompanying us. I happen to have a Beat Buddy, which is like a drum machine device that kind of works with foot switches for turning it on and off. You can change some drum patterns as well. And both Rob and I, my singer, we happen to have Boss RC loopers. We just haven't worked out how to use those types of devices in this situation. And I'm going to start exploring how to use one of them for a particular song and see if we can expand on that. We're not really looking at live looping, which is a whole different type of performance aspect. And it's very difficult to do. I've seen a lot of people that are fantastic at it. I'm amazed that there are musicians that can use loopers and they can make their own accompanying bits as they go on the fly. That's an amazing talent. It's almost like learning another instrument. It actually is. It's learning how to play drums and get a beat in there and have that in mind. But it seems like it takes a long time to get the layering going, get everything happening. And for just maybe even one song. So I'm looking at maybe recording a backing loop beforehand, whether we do it in Studio One or we'll record it, just in a room, just us, and we'll save it, and then we'll call it back and use the looper as a playback tool. But ideally, I would prefer a real drummer, and not having a drummer for a gig is kind of a rare thing for our band, so we're kind of trying this idea out and just to see if we could do it if we need to, or just at least get an idea of how we could use it in the future. But again, overall, not a bad gig. It's been a long time since Rob and I did a duo show like this, and we hadn't played the Lounge, the Brickyard, since January of 2020. So getting back into these types of gigs was really cool. And I'm hoping this is a sign of our gigging kind of returning to a more normal status. I'm going to post our sets in the area below so you can check those out. And I'd love to hear from you guys. Have you had some Spinal Tap moments on stage? If so, please share them in the comment section below. We can all have a good chuckle, and that would be great. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.